Hey guys, Coach Ed Haynes here, back with the videos to talk about the next block. We did try something new. It didn't work, but hey, you win some, you lose some. We're gonna start by talking about general focus for you guys. As you know, the whole performance program is built around peaking you guys for the CrossFit Open. So just a little reminder now, while I have the opportunity, we do expect all our performance members to be signing up and taking part in the Open. Some of you will be doing it for fun, which is completely cool. We encourage it. Others will be looking to take it a little bit more seriously. Either way, guys, remember the whole program is built around peaking you for that, which is why we include pretty much every movement we typically see in the Open, from technical pieces like overhead squats. We're doing a ton of snatching, as you've always seen, lots of technical gymnastic pieces, and basically a whole bunch of stuff in a structured format. With that said, when we look at the calendar, we're now 12 weeks out, 3 months, pretty scary. And basically what that means is we've actually spent the last 8 weeks in a big intensification phase. So what intensification typically means is it's a little bit more sport specific. So you've seen kind of heavy strength piece into maybe some supplementary work, then like a hard testing piece. What we're gonna do now, we're just gonna back you off for the next 4 weeks, go back into an accumulation phase, which means a little bit more single arm work, some more bodybuilding, hypertrophy type work, more structural balance, a little bit less craziness, because at the end of this 4 weeks, we're gonna go back into an intensification phase as we start to ramp things up for the Open. So really the goal of this next 4 weeks is to take the foot off the gas a little bit, make sure we're staying healthy, our joints are feeling good, and that we're kind of itching to go when we hit the 5th week and we start prepping things and peaking things for the Open. This week, week 1, has been a deliberate deload for both performance competitors. So you might have noticed that the volume is a little bit lower. That's purely just to freshen you up, expose you to some new movements you'll see this week. Next week, weeks 2 to 4, we're gonna start to ramp things up a little bit. So just some clarification on that. Looking at your week, Mondays, we're doing snatch technical work, and we pretty much always will be for the foreseeable future, because it's something that it's a movement that's 100% going to come up in the Open, and it's something that as a whole we need to work on. So now we're taking it back away from heavy work like we have been doing in the last block and just going to more positional work. So please don't worry about throwing as much weight on that bar as you can. Really try to learn the intricacies of how to snatch, how to clean, how to jerk, and get away from bad habits if you have them. You've got some back squat hypertrophy. We haven't done sets of 10 reps in a back squat by itself in a long, long time. So it's a chance for us to just develop some endurance through our legs and knee flexion again. And then we got some back end loaded touch and go snatch. So what that means, in the last block, we had snatching, touch and go snatching as an EMOM format by itself. Now you're gonna start to see, well, week 1 it was an EMOM format where at the end of the EMOM, you had to hit some snatches. So when we're under a bit of fatigue, maybe from handstand push-ups, from wall balls, from burpees, then have to go in to hit some technically sound touch and go snatches. That's what we mean by back end loaded. If it was a front end loaded snatch, it means that we would start the piece with something like 3 to 5 touch and go snatches, then go into our burpees and then our wall balls. All right, so we're basically doing it under fatigue because that's just the nature of our crazy sport. Tuesdays, going back to some push pressing. We haven't done that in a while. So just kind of developing some strict upper body strength again. That's going to move to some touch and go shoulders overheads in later weeks, and we're going to start to see some kind of chest to bar work come back in there in week 2 and week 3. Generally, guys, you're going to see a lot less kipping work and a lot less kind of under fatigue Olympic lifting in this block, just to kind of let our bodies rejuvenate and refresh. Strict gymnastics, things like strict handstand push-ups. So for the first time you saw something called an AFrame push-up. It's basically a great scaling option for anyone who can't do strict handstand push-ups. Remember, it's a prerequisite. You should be able to go from a full handstand to lowering yourself with control all the way to your head as an absolute minimum. If you can't do that yet, the AFrame push-up is a very good exercise. I'm going to add the YouTube link into the notes. Myself and Hightower made a video on that, so make sure you watch that just to pick up any little technical pearls of wisdom there. You're then going to go into a gymnastic and barbell couplet. So I think this week was toes to bar and shoulders over heads. And then you're going to go into another kind of conditioning piece. But you're sometimes going to see in this block 6-minute AMRAP for movement quality or for quality. And what that means is it doesn't mean I want you to take the intensity out of it completely, but I want you to slow down the movements and make sure you're executing them with perfect form rather than just rushing through them. Wednesdays, we've got some deadlift volume. So you saw the first time we had some high volume couplets, clusters. So it was 4 touch and go reps, drop, 4 touch and go reps. So again, starting to build back some higher volume, heavier lifting. We're gonna move that towards CP battery work. CP battery work basically means the ability for us to recruit the right energy pathways to lift the heavy load under fatigue. So for example, it might go from deadlifting touch and go right now to hit a hard assault bike into a heavy touch and go deadlift. Or in a conditioning piece, a 5 rounds for time or a 5 to 10 minute AMRAP, having to hit those heavy deadlifts. That's a continuation from our last block. As you know, we've been doing those kind of touch and go deadlifts for the last 8 weeks. You're gonna see some Bulgarian split squatting back in there. A lot of people have been whinging about their bums hurting the next day. That's awesome news. It means we need to kind of readapt to that exercise. We haven't done single leg work in a while now, so it's just making sure we're not letting imbalances creep in and we're staying healthy. Thursday, of course, is your rest day. Fridays, you have some clean and jerk work. You're gonna notice a power clean and jerk just to give your knees a bit of a break because you've been squatting on Mondays and Wednesdays. So clean and jerk work, power clean and jerk, and then you got some overhead squatting. It's not heavy, it's just positional focus for the first 2 weeks. And then in weeks 3 and week 4, we're gonna start to build a bit more volume in there. So you're gonna see kind of EMOM type formats. Overhead squat endurance is just an important part of our sport, and it will definitely help you snatch. And then we got some kind of total body hypertrophy, things like incline dumbbell pressing, good mornings, just that really important structural balance work that we haven't done in a while, just making sure we're ticking all our boxes there. Saturdays is going to be our long aerobic and cyclical mixed modal days. So this may look like 3 to 4, anywhere between 5 to 10 minute AMRAPs of kind of unloaded, minimal eccentric work. The idea is to get you breathing, but staying well away from that red line and just start to build some mixed modal capacity. Very, very sport specific, but we're not testing you guys too much in this block. That will come in the next block. Keep up the good work, guys, with the training. We do have a few little last reminders before we finish. Firstly, so important to stay on top of your movement and mobility work. Myself and Hightower have been spending some time compiling a movement and mobility, not a diary, what's the word, catalog on our YouTube channel. Kenneth's been doing a great job, man behind the lens there. Thank you, Kenny. Please go onto that channel. It's a free resource. There's tons of stuff there. As you know, we put up every day on the workout a little mobility segment, but that is not the be all and end all. There's loads more for you to choose from. It's getting updated every single week. Next one is to make sure you're listening to your body, guys. I know we follow a 5-day per week training regimen, but I mean, CrossFit is a fairly brutal sport, as you all know, and niggles and injuries can start to sneak in, especially as we get closer to a competitive season and the craziness just gets crazier. So make sure you're taking appropriate rest days when you need to. Highly recommend getting tissue work done at least once a week. Go to a masseuse or a physio to get that done, or just make sure you're doing your own treatment work. Lacrosse balls, foam rollers, all that kind of work, really, really important. Lastly, don't be afraid to seek one-on-one advice from one of our coaches. If there is a skill or a technical movement you're struggling with, or you'd like to get more from your training and get some individualized training to supplement your group stuff, we're here to help you guys. It doesn't necessarily have to be something you commit to long term. It can be a few ad hoc sessions to clean up something like your snatch or your gymnastics or whatever it might be. But if you're feeling like you're that person that wants extra help that you don't get from a group class, please come and seek us for advice. Thank you guys, and train hard for the next 4 weeks.